All right, James, you ready to talk about some magic?
Oh, I am ready, my friend. I was born ready.
I'm ready to talk some magic, and we're getting back to basics.
Oh,
That's
we are. Yeah, it
that's
is
a
the basics.
that's a card reference for you right there. But we're just gonna be talking about some monocolors today. I'm Dylan, joined here by James Graham, and this is a roll for first. And we're gonna be talking about some monocolors today. I like monocolors a lot, actually. All the decks I run right now, I think, are monocolored. So
Well, you run like mono red aggro, don't you? Like that's one of
y-
your
y-
defaults.
yeah, in a couple different formats, I run it.
Yeah, I hate you. I hate you. like,
I guess we'll go into the decks in a little bit, but I just want to ask you a couple questions about monocolors.
yeah, hit me, man.
We'll
Hit
see
me.
how well you do.
Okay. All right. Great.
I'm gonna say a color,
Okay.
and I want you to say the flavor,
The flavor, like the
the
style,
mechanics.
the aesthetic.
Not the aesthetic, but like the mechanics, sort of.
Okay.
I
All right.
you
All
can
right.
you can say just like the aesthetic as well, but
Yeah.
everything encompasses the color, right? Ready?
Okay. All right. Hit
White,
me.
white.
Overrun. Overrun like with like tokens and like small creatures. White weenie is the first thing that comes to mind, but like I'm thinking like a ton of cheap monsters just overrun you.
Okay, blue.
Okay. Uh, control counter spells, counter spells, counter spells.
Okay, black.
Uh, discard. Only
Okay,
discard.
that's pretty good. Red.
Yeah. Burn.
Perfect. Green.
Ooh. Early big creatures. So like,
Okay.
yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if those are the answers you were looking
Okay,
for.
actually, it sort of is.
Okay, cool.
So I'm just looking at the Magic color pie chart and a little bit of a breakdown from them,
Okay.
and it's really good because Magic does such a good job at getting across what each color is meant to be and the kind of
Hmm.
mechanics and the kind of flavor that comes with them. That I know you haven't been playing Magic for a super long time, and already like it's like that you instantly get it
Yeah.
and you know what they're all about.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
just going through the list right here of what's written out. White, damage prevention and life gain.
Okay. Yeah.
Small creatures, in quotations, weenies.
Yeah.
Taxing, which I don't think any of the sets that you played with have any big taxing effects.
I think they're just being introduced now. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
So in a bunch of different sets, there's a ton of taxing abilities and stuff like that for white. So you might see that come around a little bit. And then going on blue, we have card draw, counter
Yep.
spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there, counter spells.
There it is. There it is.
Bounce effects, tapping and untapping, and gaining control and
Okay. Yeah.
combat trickery. Like you were totally right when you said control, because that is what blue is doing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then black, we have creature destruction.
Okay.
This is the one I think you got maybe the least amount, but you still kind of got it. They don't actually they just have like kind of like a general description for this. So it's like creature destruction, culling the weak, parasitism,
Par- okay.
necromancy, and
Yeah.
card advantage, which you discard spells essentially.
Discard. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair.
And then obviously red, burn, absolutely burn.
Yeah.
But something that I don't think you've been around for too much. Well, obviously burn and aggressive creatures, but land destruction.
Yeah, like when I played way back in the day, that was a
Hmm.
very common thing. But like as of recently, yeah, haven't had to
Yeah.
see too much of it. Thank God.
Yeah, so land destruction is in some other colors as well, but red has been like it's the flavor for red in some of the older sets, and in some older formats, they have land destruction decks sort of. So there's a deck out there in that's played in modern called Ponza that does land destruction. It was good at one point, but it's not really good now. You'll see it
Okay.
every once in a while, just like a random person showing up to like a shop playing it. But that is something they're moving away from, I think,
As
because
like a, as like a
yeah,
as a color identity kind of thing.
or as a concept in general, because getting your lands killed kind of feels bad.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it feels super bad.
So I actually play an eight. I'll go more into it when we start talking about decks, but I play eight rack, and one of the cards there is smallpox. So for anyone who doesn't know smallpox, it's two black. Each player destroys a land, discards a card, sacrifices a creature, and loses one health.
It's disgusting.
Let me tell you, this card is just a bomb. Like, you throw it down and it ruins days. Like,
Yeah.
destroying a land is a huge deal. Like, it's a really big deal to get like a land destroyed and, you know, be set back a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. It sets your curve back, right? And like,
Yeah.
and that sucks, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times you're keeping hands and you're going, okay, I have like 2 to 3 lands.
Yeah.
This is enough. This is enough lands for me to do what I want to do. And you put your cards out there, and one of them gets blown up, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And not only that, you may be forced to ditch one of those lands out of your hand too, right?
Yeah.
Depending on like how valuable your hand is, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's nutty, man. Oh my god.
Okay, and then finally moving on to green, you almost had it on the nose with this one, but it's powerful creatures and like ramping effects.
Yeah. And then I was trying to think of a way to articulate that because all I had in my head for a green deck is just Llanowar elves and then these massive creatures super early. Like,
yeah, and that's perfectly on point for green too. It's you know, a lot of like you know, tapping elves for mana or, you know, getting extra lands out and then putting these just big, just like a lot of times they're okay. I don't want to say there's never like super powerful effects with them because you have things like Primeval Titan, which does nutty stuff, but a lot of times you just have big creatures and their effect is this is just a big creature.
Yeah, like I mean, most of the time the only like extra little flavor you get is like trample, but I mean most of the time it's just like these big hulking masses that you have to deal with. It. What is it? Gigantosaur is like a 5 forest, 5 green, 10/10 or something like that, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
and it's so annoying to deal with.
And he's just a big dude.
Yeah, it's just a big dude. That's it.
So, out of these colors, do you have any favorites? Like, do you have one that's like close and dear to your heart?
So, and I think it's just because I had the most success with it when I play like Arena, and it's white. White has always been one that I've been drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, like white kind of goes hand in hand with like soldier types and stuff like that. So, and I've really always liked the soldier creature type. So that's always been the one I've been really drawn to. Black's been kind of a close second. But yeah, I think definitely white takes the cake. What about you?
So I would probably say red. I always think about it, and I'm like, you know, I really like this one deck or this one, blah blah blah, and then it always circles around to, but I just like burn a lot, and I like red. I like casting spells and stuff like that that just do things like that, just do damage. I like throwing down a spell that's really cheap. It does damage. I like swinging with a bunch of creatures really fast. I love red. I love its flavor, and like I can always play that flavor in no matter what format I'm in. I could be playing like Legacy. I could be playing Modern, Standard, anything. I could play a mono red deck if I wanted to and do okay with it. Yeah, it's not always the best, but you can do okay with it because, you know, red deck wins. Like that's the meme, right? It's red deck wins. You play red cards and you just get in.
Oh my god, man!
So I was actually sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I had you pegged as blue. Blue is like really? What I like. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just because he seemed like a shifty character or what.
I'll let you on a little secret.
Okay, hit me.
I fucking hate blue so much, and I know it's like the meme that everyone hates blue and stuff, but like, oh my gosh, whenever I play against like a control player, I just like want to cry. I hate it so much. Counterspells feel so bad, and
they feel the worst. And like the thing I find about playing against a control deck is that it like severely alters how you think about the game more than any other color I find or any other like play style, right? So,
but I actually will admit, we'll talk about this in probably another episode. But I do like blue when it's mixed with red.
Of course,
yeah, because they play off each other well. But we'll get into a different episode. But I just want to go over a little bit of a few cycles of cards that I think are really, really interesting. So for anyone who doesn't know, a lot of times when they're designing sets for Magic, they release cards in cycles. So usually it's called a horizontal cycle. So they'll make cards that are kind of related, but one will be green, one will be blue, one will be black, one will be red, but they all fit the same flavor. They all like are relatively the same. And
Okay.
so you'll get this whenever I start bringing it up. So in Dominaria, theirs was the mono 3-color cycle. So this one was so incredibly strong. Banalish Marshall, Tempest Djinn,
Yeah.
Goblin Chain Whirler, Steel
Yeah.
Leaf Champion, and then Dreadshade. Dreadshade kind of sucks, but
Dreadshade's the only one I don't see regularly.
exactly.
Right? Like,
Whenever like I was looking through this list and I was like, Dreadshade.
That's a
I don't
card?
remember this card. It's not very good, but all the other ones are so incredibly good.
they're disgusting. They're like, yeah. They're like easily some of the best 3-drops you'll ever come across.
Yeah, and the way that they designed these cards is they think, oh, you need 3 red mana to cast this card, which, if you think about it, if you're running anything but a monocolor deck, yeah, it is kind of hard to cast a 3-mana card on curve. But if you're playing a monocolor deck, that's just turn 3. That's just a turn 3 card. You're putting down a turn 3 card that it enters the battlefield, does 1 damage to all your opponent's stuff, including them, and then it's a 3/3 with first strike. That's insane. That's so good.
That's gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean like and that's just the red one. I think out of like the 5, I want to say the red one's the nastiest. Just with that like without 1 damage to everything, like you can't really touch that. You know what I mean? Like I would put I don't know the Djinn or the Djinn or whatever the hell it is.
Djinn.
The Djinn is the D just silent?
It's Djinn.
Is it just like is it like Django? Like is that
no?
it?
It's like from Arabian Nights. Like not from it, but it's like it's part of like Middle Eastern like myth. Like
right?
jinns.
Yeah. Oh no, I understand what it is. I'm like, as far as the pronunciation.
Oh no, yeah, it is. It's just
okay.
silent D.
Yeah, so I feel like that one might be the next nastiest. I don't know because I almost put like the other 3, excluding Dreadshade, like on par with each other as far as what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and yeah, they're all really strong, and they fit the flavors super well,
perfectly.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Except maybe Djinn. I don't think Djinn fits it super well. That's the only thing I think that doesn't fit.
It's a 0/4 flying. But the attack is based off of number of islands, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, like you'd think it would be something that's like linked to like spells in graveyard or something like that, along those lines, or spells, or you couldn't do like spells in hand or like cards in hand because I feel like that would just be busted. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I as far as flavor, yeah, I think that's like a tier below the other ones for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, like the Marshall, like
Oh, perfect! I love the
bump
Marshall.
everything up +1/+1, and Chain Whirler just dealing that damage everywhere, and then just like being able to just keep swinging in, and then Steel Leaf Champion just being an incredibly strong card.
Yeah, super early because like how many other people have like who that run something that has +2 attack and like that early? You know what I mean? Like it just mows over everything, right?
Yeah,
or negates it, right? It doesn't even have to deal with it.
Yeah, and you have to defend with like the other text of the card is you have like if you're gonna block it, it has to be with like power 3 or greater. So if you
power 3 or greater. Yeah.
2 or 3 greater, and it's insane because like if you think about the green and what they're trying to do, they're throwing down an elf to like get that out a turn early. Like you can see it like turn like 2.
That's turn 2.
That's
turn
gross.
2. I've seen it turn 2 too many times to count, and it like gives me nightmares, man.
Yeah, it's gross.
Haunts my dreams.
And so I want to talk about a couple other cycles. I'll keep the most famous cycle for last. But another one I want to talk about is the command cycle. So I don't know if this is a card that you're familiar with. I'll run through the other ones, and then I'll lead it up to the last one, which people probably know what this is leading up to, the command cycle. But you have Austere Command, which is 6 mana. So it's 4 mana and 2 white. Its ability, it's a sorcery, and it says choose 2. And that's like the whole gimmick of this is choose 2 of a bunch of different abilities. So you could choose 2 out of all these. So it's destroy all artifacts, or destroy all enchantments, or destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less, or destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 4 or greater.
Okay.
So I really like these cards because it gives you choice. You get, for the most part, you get 4 options, and you get to choose 2 out of them, and you want to. It's a really flexible card. They're all flexible cards. And then so the black one is Profane Command. So it's choose 2. Target player loses X life because the cost is 2 black and X. So target player loses X life or returns target creature card with converted mana cost X or less from graveyard to play, or target creature gets -X until end of turn, or up to X target creatures gain fear until end of turn. And I think fear is, I want to say it's reverse menace.
Oh, so
it's like the opposite of menace.
So it require. How would that work? Like it can only like. It has to attack with somebody else. Is that how that works?
No. It's blocking, but the other way.
Okay.
Yeah. So the creature can't be blocked except by. Oh no, is that right? Oh, I totally messed that one up. So it's actually this creature can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures.
That's so. Oh my god! I can see. Now I know why I haven't seen that, because that's such a niche-y little thing, right? Like.
Yeah, and okay, so let me go back to the list and read another one. There's a couple more. Incendiary Command. So this is choose 2. It deals 4 damage to target player, or deals 2 damage to each creature, or target destroys non-basic land, or player discards all the cards in his or her hand, then draws that many cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems very
red. Seems very red.
Very red.
Then you have Primal Command, which is 3 mana, 2 green, choose 2. Target player gains 7 life, or puts target non-creature permanent on top of his or her own library. Or target player shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library. Or search your library for a creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library.
So it's green?
Yeah, it's green.
It's green.
This one sees some play.
I can see
some play. Not a ton, but some. The other ones, I don't really think I've seen them played in older formats at all. I don't think anyone plays them. Except for this last one.
All right, hit me
the
with
most
last one.
famous command. Cryptic Command.
Cryptic Command.
The essence of blue. The end-all be-all control spell for blue. This card is 1 colorless mana, 3 blue. Choose 2. Counter target spell.
Okay.
Return target permanent to its owner's hand.
Okay.
Tap all creatures your opponent controls.
Oh.
Or draw a card. So a lot of times what you'll see is you'll go, okay, I'm going to play a good card. You go to play the good card. Cryptic Command, counter, draw. They counter your spell, and they draw a card. And this is insane.
That irks me to the core, man.
This is the essence of blue here. This is the perfect blue card. It gives you control. And then not only does it give you control, it's flexible control because you're choosing 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's a counter spell. It's a bounce spell. It's a tap spell. It's a draw spell.
Yeah. I can't think of a single card out of the other 4. That one hits it on the nose the most. Like the other ones, you're like, okay, I can see how that's kind of like X color or Y color, but that's disgusting.
Yeah, it's insane, right?
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, and so this is a must include in any blue control, at least in modern. So whenever you see blue control, they're going to be running this card for sure.
Oh yeah.
So the big one right now, I think, is like Azorius Control. They run in that, but so I just want to go over a couple decks that we play. Oh no, sorry. I have the Boon Cycle. Sorry, I almost forgot the Boon Cycle.
The Boons. Oh, the.
So everyone should know the Boon Cycle because they're older cards. They're probably some of the most famous cards Magic's ever printed. So the flavor of this cycle is that it is a 1 mana effect, and it has an effect that has something to do with the number 3.
Okay.
So if you think 1 mana, something with the number 3, monocolored. The first thing you should think of is I would say it's hard to say most famous because all these except for one are kind of famous.
Okay. The first one that came to mind was white gain 3 life. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, and that is exactly what this is. So
Yeah.
Healing Salve. Healing Salve is an instant that says gain 3 life or prevent 3 damage to a single target.
Makes sense.
It's a very good white. It's a very on flavor white card, but
Yeah.
it's not good. It's not a good card,
Doesn't seem that great.
which is pretty insane because I'm gonna go. I guess I'm gonna ramp it up into like the most powerful. So you have that one, and then you have Giant Growth, probably one of the most printed cards for sure.
Yeah, is it a +3/+3?
Yep, +3
Yeah,
plus
yeah.
3. It's
green.
printed in almost everything. Perfect green. It's like the perfect green card.
Yeah.
And then you have Lightning Bolt.
Oh,
Lightning Bolt does 3 damage to 1 target. 1 red, instant speed. This is the card. This
That
is
is the card?
the card. Like I would say out of all the cards in Magic, this is probably the most popular one that people are most likely to play. So obviously you have cards like Black Lotus. Black Lotus is an incredibly famous card. But
yeah.
and I'm sure most people has never played with a Black Lotus before, obviously.
Oh my God, no. Yeah.
But Lightning Bolt is it was printed a bunch of times. It's not too terribly expensive. It's in Modern right now. It's played in a ton of different decks. And then on top of that, if you played Standard up until a couple years ago, it was in Standard at some point too. So it's a pretty common card.
For me, it's like the most Magic card you can think. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it is the epitome of Magic in a card.
Incredibly powerful card.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have Blacks, which is Dark Ritual. 1 mana, add 3 black mana to your pool.
Okay, pretty gross.
You can see how that is incredibly strong. This is a not. It's not an expensive card because they reprinted it into enough supplementary sets and stuff like that. So it's not like a big deal in terms of price, but you can't play it in most formats because
I can see what it's banned
incredibly good.
across. Yeah, it's like disgusting.
Yeah. And then you have
The blue. What is the
blue one? Ancestral Recall. Draw 3 cards or force your opponent to draw 3 cards.
Ugh.
For 1 mana, instant speed. This is like, this is why it's one of the Power 9. It's broken.
It is broken. That's a busted card. Absolutely,
Yeah.
nerf that thing. Nerf it.
Like absolutely busted card. It's so broken. Who was sitting there like, hey, you know what we're gonna do? Well, I know it was. It was Richard Garfield. Yeah, it was Richard Garfield was sitting there. He was like, "Oh, this is a fine card. I'll just print it." But yeah,
They must have hit him at like a late night when he was just a little too high, and it was just like, "This is this is a card."
So overall, what do you think of the boon cycle? Like, how do you feel it fits in the flavor, especially since this was in alpha? Like, these are alpha cards.
Alpha.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's crazy to think that they had like the flavors established so early. You know what I mean? Like that was like they nailed the essence of each color from alpha, and it really hasn't changed. It may have grown a bit, but like the essence has never gone away. So I think it's pretty crazy that they established that so early on.
Yeah, I think the only one that doesn't really fit too well is Dark Ritual.
I agree
Yeah.
because I can't think of many other cards off the top of my head that like gain mana to your mana pool. It seems to be a bit more of a green thing to me. That's the only way I can think of it, like Llanowar elves and like stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I think everything else is like bang on.
Yeah, I think if they were to reprint this, they might print something that says give something -3/-3.
That's what I was thinking, like the opposite of giant growth. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think maybe that would be probably the case.
yeah.
So what's insane about these colors is early blue, the essence of blue is just so incredibly strong. It's just it's too strong. Like the
It's too
essence of
strong.
it. the ideas of drawing cards and, you know, doing very control-y things
Yeah.
is kind of busted. So I just want to talk about the other blue cards that are kind of quintessential to what blue does, but were too broken.
Okay.
So to let you know how broken blue is, out of the Power 9 cards, it's 3 of them. The other 6 don't have colors.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they're just it's just the Mock Cycle and the Lotus.
Yeah.
And the other ones are just blue cards. So Ancestral Recall, drawing 3 cards off of 1 mana, insanely good.
Yeah.
Then you have Time Walk, 2 mana, take an extra turn.
That's, oh my god.
Which they really want the extra turn thing to work, and we saw this with Nexus of Fate in Standard. They like the extra turn aspect of blue, but it's hard to design.
Well, that's just it. Like, I mean, like, how do you balance something like that? You know what I mean? You have to make it like the only way I've seen it work is I think there's a card in Modern, in whatever arena is set up. It's a 1/1 creature that has the effect. I think it's like 2 colorless and 2 blue to take an extra turn, and like that's how much it costs. So I mean, that's the only way you balance is to make it incredibly expensive, right? That's the only way, because it's no other color does that. You know what I mean? Like it's insane.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. And so then the last blue card is Time Twister. It's part of the Power 9. This card was like they had to just like write new text for the card and stuff, which I think the latest version of it is each player shuffles his or her hand each player shuffles his or her hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards.
You can't lose. Like
so,
not by like card draw. Like, oh my god, man.
So the thing is, it's 3 mana.
That's also disgusting. No card should cost that for 3 mana. Like, that effect is too powerful for 3 mana.
Yeah, it does so much, and there's like a ton of like synergy with it too that makes it crazy. But on top of that, you're paying 3 mana to get 7 cards.
Also, yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, if you think about it, you're on your turn, right? You empty your hand except for Time Twister, you play it, and then it's like you draw 7 cards, and it's like, okay, the opponent might be it might be uneven because the opponent might be sitting on like 5 cards. They're getting rid of all the cards they're keeping in their hand, and they're like, okay, well, I guess I got to roll the dice on getting another hand that's better. And meanwhile, you're sitting there like, I just have 7 brand new cards. I didn't lose any. I wish I had more insight into older Magic so I could actually tell everyone the like insanity of this card. But this is a little bit beyond our reach.
I'd agree.
So let's phone it back in a little bit. Let's bring it in a little bit, and let's talk about some just monocolor decks that we're playing right now. And I know, James, you play a lot of Arena. You play exclusively Standard Arena. So what monocolor decks do you really like?
I play myself. I play White Weenie. White Weenie's my jam. But I do it with I found running it with like prison cards is really, really beneficial. So like the cards that like take it out of play, like it gets drawn or it gets played, chuck it down the enchantment, goes like, and then it's like exiled, but it's not exiled until the card goes away, right? So I've been doing that, but I really respect anybody who runs like mono green. It's always a deck that I've really wanted to run, but I just never have like actually built it because I really like the idea of it. But those are the 2 that I'm really interested in. I despise anybody who plays mono blue. I despise anybody who plays mono red, but I have beaten mono red because White Weenie can like almost outlast it with like life gain and stuff like that. And then like I've never seen mono black. I've never seen it.
Yeah, I don't think there is too much mono black out there. I'm trying to think of some good examples right now, but I can't really think of any. The only ones I can really think of are in other formats. So the decks that I'm familiar with that are monocolored is, so I guess we'll start into Modern, and then I'll ease it into Standard.
Okay. So
my home in Modern, the first deck I played in Modern was 8-Rack, which is a monocolored black deck.
Okay.
It's pretty quintessential to the flavor too. The whole deck's purpose is you play cards that make your opponent discard.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a mill deck.
Yeah. No. Not like milling out of their deck, but like just getting rid of their hand.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So you basically just get rid of their hand. You can't play any cards. Then you're like, okay, well, I'm kind of stuck. And you go, well, how do you win if they don't have any cards? So they printed two cards. They printed the namesake, the Rack. Its text reads, basically, if they have two cards in their hand, they take 1 damage. If they have one card in their hand, they take 2 damage. If they have no cards in their hand, they take 3 damage.
Okay.
It's an artifact. And then they printed Shrieking Affliction, which is an enchantment. It's a black enchantment, and it reads, if the opponent has 1 or 0 cards in their hand, they take 3 damage. So you run 4 of each of these.
Oh my god.
And so once you start getting cards down, like you can get like 1 or 2 rack effects down, and then they don't have any cards, and then they're just taking like 6 damage a turn, which is insane. Which is
That's gross.
Especially if you can't do anything.
Yeah.
The other suite in the deck are, like Fatal Pushes. So Fatal Push, I think, went out of standard right when you were getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
So Fatal Push is 1 black instant. Kill a target creature that is mana cost 2 or less. I think it's 2 or less. For 1 black. And then if something like left the battlefield during that turn, there's a special mechanic called Revolt, and you can remove something 4 or less. So what's really good about this card is in Modern, it's very fast. Very fast. You're not playing big creatures a lot of times, especially early on in the game. You're playing small creatures that are really effective in the game. And so Fatal Push is really good because it hits like all the creatures. So amazing card. You run that.
It's right in that wheelhouse, right?
Yeah, you run stuff like that. You run Ensnaring Bridge, which Ensnaring Bridge is 3 mana artifact. You put it down, and it says creatures with power greater than the amount of cards in your hand cannot attack in your own hand. So the idea is you play all your discard spells, basically trading with your opponent's hand, getting everything out of their hands. You throw this down. You don't have a hand at that point, and then they can't attack with anything because nothing is. You can't do damage with 0 costed. Power creatures. Yeah. And then you run Liliana the Veil, which is the most powerful planeswalker in existence. 3 mana. Her +1 is each player. So you and your opponent discard a card.
Okay.
Insanely good because it's part of the discard effect.
Exactly.
And then a lot of times you're playing her and you don't really have a hand, and you're making your opponent discard cards. So it's like it's a symmetrical effect, but it's actually not a symmetrical effect a lot of times. Her -2.
Plus they're taking damage when they're losing these cards too.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're not.
And then her -2 is opponent sacrifices a creature. They get to pick the creature, but it's get rid of a creature. Insanely strong because you're not running. Unless you're playing like an aggressive deck, you're not running a ton of creatures. So if you put something down, it's impactful. You just get rid of it.
Yeah.
And then her ultimate ability, oh my gosh. Her opponent ability is, so whenever you do it, you separate your opponent's permanent into 2 piles. They have to choose one of them to keep and one to send to the graveyard. This is like such a cool mechanic.
It's such a big mechanic, right? Like,
yes.
You don't get a lot of stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So when damn.
Yeah, she's 3 mana. She's incredibly good.
How many loyalty counters do you need to get the ultimate?
8.
8? Okay.
8. And she starts on 3. So you can put her down immediately -2 and keep her alive still.
Yeah.
So I run that mostly. I also just switched over to Mono Red Phoenix. Phoenix is a good card. Phoenix is a good card in Standard, and it's even better card in Modern.
It makes me hate my life in Modern.
Yeah, because you're playing Faithless Lootings, which is draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards for 1 mana, which is insanely good because then you just toss your Phoenixes away and stuff like that. It's broken. It's not really. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. It might be broken. We'll see. We'll see if they end up banning Faithless Looting because it's a big problem in a bunch of other decks. But this deck is awesome because it has what I like. I like Burn. Burn's really fun. I like playing monocolored decks. It wasn't incredibly expensive or anything. I think the highest costed cards are Phoenix and Manamorphose. Those are probably the two biggest ones. So it's not super expensive deck either. It's really powerful. It's super explosive, and it's fun because you're casting spells. Like you have Metamorphose, so you're drawing cards. You have Faithless Looting, so you're drawing cards and throwing Phoenixes in the graveyard. You have all your creatures besides Phoenix have prowess. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gains +1/+1. So you're casting a bunch of cards. It's doing a ton of damage, and if you do more than 3 cards in a turn, you're pulling all your Phoenixes out. You're swinging for them. It's insane. It's like the most fun version of Burn because it's so explosive.
It's just, and it's very interactive too, right? Like, I mean, usually it's just like with most Burn decks, it's like, okay, I'm burning something. Okay, I'm burning something. Okay, I'm burning something. But with that, there's so many more fun components to it that makes it really like enjoyable to sit through and play, right? Unless you're on the receiving end and then you hate your life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I played against someone at my LGS the other night. He was playing like Mill, I think, like a budget Mill deck. And he just like put down a land and he's like, all right, I pass to you. And I was like, all right, here we go. It's like turn like 1 and I'm like, swinging with a creature with haste, using Gut Shot, which Gut Shot has 1 Phyrexian mana. So you could pay 2 life instead of paying its cost. Deals 1 damage, but you're also, buffing up your guys with prowess and you're just doing insane damage and swinging for a bunch. I love it. So that's the 2 decks I have experience with in Modern, and then in Standard I have played a little bit of Tempo Blue. It's a very strong deck. I don't like it personally because I don't like blue, but it is very strong. Obviously, we saw the last Standard Mythic Championship. Tempo Blue was just so strong there. I think the championship match, which is a mirror, it's mono or a Tempo Blue mirror.
Tempo Blue.
Yeah,
that would be really boring to watch. I don't know.
No, it's not actually. It is really interesting because you're playing creatures, you're buffing them up, you're drawing cards, and then you're also like counterspelling, and you're going through counterspell wars, and it is kind of interesting to watch. It's not my cup of tea because I don't like blue that much, but it is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. See, I just like to watch like not like big nasty creatures like duke it out, but I like to see like when you kind of have that like that building of like either side of the board where it's like, okay, well, if I attack, I'm getting wiped out, but if you attack, I'm wiping you out. You know what I mean? And you get this, and then you just reach this like peak where something needs to happen, right? Which you don't really see that often at like the higher skills, but in like in my skill level, like that's kind of like a big trend, right?
Yeah, I think you would really like drafting a lot then.
I should probably get into that.
I think you would like really fun because it is a lot slower a lot of the time. Games are definitely a lot slower. You're building up your field a little bit sometimes. You're making those calculated decisions like, should I trade here? Should I not trade here? And it's a lot of value, and it is that kind of stalemate a little bit. So I think you might like that a little bit.
I might try that out, yeah, because I mean, getting burned by like control blue decks all the time really sucks.
Or getting burned by burn, which is the other thing I play. So I think I really like it because I was talking about it a little bit earlier, but like you could run like 18 lands and just a bunch of red creatures and spells, and most of the time it's viable in that format, no matter what format it is. So burn in Modern, just mono red burn isn't the best one. It's Boros burn is Boros or Naya burn are the strongest, but you can do mono red burn, and a lot of times that is what people do when they're getting into Modern is they play mono red burn because it's not too terribly expensive. You're not buying any crazy lands, which that's why I really like monocolored decks, is because one of the biggest barriers to entry into Magic, especially on the older formats, is like the price of decks. And the reason why decks are so expensive is because of these damn lands.
The split lands and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
So you have the shock lands, which thankfully they just reprinted them, so they're not too terribly expensive right now. But those fetch lands, the ones where they come in and you get to search for like one or the other, but you can also like bring in one of the shocks and absolutely broken lands. They'll never reprint them. I don't think. I don't think they would ever reprint them just because they're too strong. But they need to reprint them because they're too expensive. Like Scalding Tarns right now, as of we're recording this, is like $100 per card.
That's oh my god.
Which
For a land.
for a land, it's insane. Like I would expect some like broken lands. Like I mean, Ventures are kind of broken, but they're staples. They're quintessential for any deck that you run, and it feels bad when you want to play like mono or anything except monocolor because you really need those. And
yeah, they're essential, right? Like,
yeah, but that is what's really good about monocolor decks is because you don't need these expensive lands. You can still get there and keep the price down, fairly cheap. And there's actually a burn, like a mono red legacy burn deck. Mm-hmm. Legacy, notorious. Every deck that's viable is like over $1,000.
Of course,
it's expensive.
Yeah.
But you can get there on like $100 legacy burn deck, and like, I'm not saying that you're gonna show up to like, a big regional event and do super amazing, but this is a deck that if your store is having like a legacy night, you could bring legacy burn and still win. Like you could do it, and
it's just so accessible because it's mono, right? Like
yeah, and it has like really cool cards. There's like one that like deals 4 damage, but instead of paying its cost, you sacrifice 2 mountains.
What?
So it's like almost like free 4 damage. So like you swing it with everything, and if you need that little bit of reach, you're just like, I'll sack my lands and just do 4 damage.
Whatever, I win anyways.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's pretty awesome. But yeah, I think red does it the best because you could always run that, and then actually I would say for the most part you can always run a stompy green deck because they always print the mana elves. And they always print a really good stompy green card.
Yeah. It seems to be a staple in like regardless of the set, right? Like they're kind of timeless, right? Because again, like we said, like it's just like they've nailed the color identity down so well, so they always know we need a stompy green card regardless of the set, right? So you always get one.
So is there any more decks you want to talk about?
I mean, it's just going further down like the white train. Like I mean, like. When I first started playing Standard with Through Arena, because before years ago, that was the only real exposure I had to Magic. I was really into tribal vampires. It was really fun, like white vampires. It was like almost pairing it with angels to a degree, but I mean primarily white vampires. And it was really fun. It was wicked. That was with like Ixalan, the two sets there. And that was a blast. I really had a lot of fun with that. Really helped me learn all the decks and not get like mowed over trying to figure out what my deck was doing. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it was nice.
Yeah, I like Vampire Tribal. I think they're really interesting, and even though I don't like this format, and you won't hear me bring it up very much because I have a disdain for it. But EDH Commander.
Yeah, I was
is really
for
good for those tribal things, like people have those vampire decks and stuff like that, and you get a lot of flavor out of EDH. We'll probably bring it up on an episode down the road, but I'll go into my Commander player gripes.
Your hatred for
my quote unquote hatred for them. But yeah, I think honestly we could sit here and talk about monocolor decks and monocolors just like for days on end. I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I think we got the meat of it out there, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, like the color, the flavor, all that good stuff. I think we hit the major points.
Yeah. So I guess we'll wrap it up here. Stay tuned for the next episode. I think we're gonna talk about the guild colors, so the duo colors. So we talked about mono colors. We're just gonna step it up. We're gonna talk about those 2 colored cards. And how good they are, because we just got off a set with Ravnica. Obviously, Ravnica is City of Guild, so perfect for that. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, follow us on Twitter at popped_off. Yeah. See you next time on Roll for First.